Blake Donovan, a self-made millionaire CEO, had long come to believe that love was nothing more than an illusion, a dangerous distraction from the cold logic of business. At 49, after a string of failed relationships and betrayals, he resolved that emotions only hindered success. Determined to secure an heir without any messy complications, Blake devised an unorthodox plan. He would marry someone chosen solely for the purpose of bearing his child. That fateful evening, at the lavish Donovan mansion, Blake's world shifted in a way he never expected. The party was in full swing, with champagne flowing and influential guests laughing loudly. Amid the swirling conversations, his lifelong friend and occasional rival, Carter Sinclair, strolled up with a mischievous glint in his eye. Holding a glass of wine, Carter leaned toward Blake and said, "You always say money can buy anything. Well, I bet you can't marry someone outside your pristine social circle and then keep that marriage for 3 whole months to prove it." The challenge rippled through the crowd. Blake scoffed at first, dismissing the idea as absurd. "Marry someone who isn't in my world? That's ridiculous," he muttered. But Carter's challenge was relentless. Scanning the room, Carter pointed out a woman moving quietly among the servers, a maid who looked completely out of place amid the glittering wealth. "What about her?" Carter said with a mocking laugh. "She's working for you, isn't she? Perfect for the bet." Blake followed Carter's gaze and, to his astonishment, recognized the maid. It was Lily Winters, a plain, unassuming woman with tired eyes and humble manners. In school, she had been just another face in the crowd, a girl Blake had noticed only in passing. Now, in her worn uniform and with her hair pulled back in a simple bun, she was far removed from the glamorous world Blake inhabited. Yet something in her presence stirred an unexpected curiosity within him. Later that evening, while the party roared on, Blake approached Lily in a quiet corridor. "Lily," he said softly, unsure if she recognized him. She looked up, startled, her eyes briefly flashing with recognition before clouding with apprehension. "Yes," she replied cautiously. Blake took a deep breath. "I have a proposal for you," he announced, his tone unusually measured. "I want you to marry me on a contract, just for 3 months. During that time, you'll bear my child. I'll cover all your expenses, and at the end of the term, you will relinquish any claim to the baby." Lily's face drained of color. You want me to be your wife?" she stammered, her voice trembling between disbelief and indignation. "For a bet? I'm a maid. How could you even think of such a thing?" Blake's eyes remained steady. "It's simple. I'm tired of the predictable lies and empty promises in my life. I need something real, a child without complications, with no emotional baggage. You're in a difficult place, and I can offer you a way out of your struggles. It's strictly business." For a long moment, silence reigned between them. Lily's mind raced with conflicting emotions. On one hand, she loathed the idea of selling herself out for money. On the other, her life had been a relentless battle against poverty, mounting bills, and the burden of caring for her ailing mother in a tiny apartment on the outskirts of Los Angeles. After what felt like an eternity, with her heart pounding in both fear and resignation, Lily accepted the contract by taking the business card Blake offered. "I need time to think," she whispered, though even as she spoke, she knew deep down that her choices were dwindling. In the days that followed, Lily's life transformed drastically. Blake arranged for her to move into one of his luxurious residences, a mansion that shone with polished marble, manicured gardens, and an air of opulence that felt both alien and oppressive. Under the constant supervision of Blake's staff, Lily underwent the necessary medical procedures to begin the process. Every detail of her new life was dictated by the contract: her meals, her doctor visits, even her wardrobe, all designed to ensure that the pregnancy proceeded exactly as planned. At first, Blake maintained his usual distant, businesslike manner. He reviewed Lily's health reports with clinical precision and enforced strict routines. Yet, as the weeks passed and Lily's body began to change, something unexpected stirred in him. During one of her routine checkups, he found himself asking, almost hesitantly, "Lily, How are you really feeling today? His tone, once cold and detached, now held a trace of genuine concern. Lily, though hardened by years of struggle, was conflicted. Every day, as she felt her baby move for the first time during ultrasounds, she was overwhelmed by a mixture of bitter resentment and a flicker of hope. Could this child be a new beginning, a chance to rewrite her shattered life? Yet the contract loomed large in her mind. Every aspect of her existence was controlled by Blake, who saw her not as a person, but as a tool to secure his legacy. The day of the delivery arrived in a blur of pain and raw emotion. In the sterile brightness of a hospital delivery room, surrounded by medical staff, Lily endured the agony of childbirth. Blake, who rarely left his mansion's office, appeared by her side, a sight that startled Lily with its intimacy. Hours later, as a newborn's cry pierced the air, a healthy baby boy was born. For a brief moment, as Blake gazed at the tiny infant, his stern expression softened. "He's perfect," he murmured, though the nurse's cold reminder soon echoed in the room. "Remember, all rights transferred to Mr. Donovan after the delivery." In the days that followed, life at the mansion settled into a strict, regimented routine. Lily received everything from luxurious clothing to a generous stipend, and the staff monitored her closely. Yet, despite the material comforts, every moment felt like a gilded cage. The cold, unyielding terms of the contract were a constant reminder that her body, her life, even her child, were not entirely her own. As she cradled her newborn son, whom Blake declared would be his heir, Lily felt a wrench of despair mixed with an unspoken hope that maybe, just maybe, something could change. That possibility began to emerge on a cool autumn evening. In the quiet of the mansion's parlor, Blake unexpectedly approached Lily. His posture, usually so rigid and implacable, was softer, almost tentative. "Lily," he said, his voice low and uncharacteristically warm, "I know our arrangement was meant to be nothing more than a business deal, but seeing you with our child has made me question everything." Lily looked up, her eyes wary and pained. "What do you mean?" she asked in a small voice. Blake hesitated, then continued. "I realize now that life isn't merely about control and profit. I want more than just an heir. I want a family. I want you to be more than just a means to secure my legacy. I want you to be my partner." For the first time since the contract was signed, Lily's hardened exterior wavered, though every fiber of her being rebelled at the notion of mixing personal feelings with the terms of their agreement. She felt a spark of something new, hope, perhaps, or the possibility of redemption. "Are you saying you want to change everything?" she whispered, barely daring to hope. Blake's eyes softened further as he reached out and gently took her hand. "I'm asking you to marry me, Lily. I want us to build a real family together, beyond the cold constraints of that contract." The words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of a new beginning. After a long, trembling pause, tears welled in Lily's eyes. With a voice choked by emotion, she whispered, "Yes, I'll marry you." Their wedding was an intimate affair held on a windswept beach at sunset. Close friends, a few loyal staff members, and local neighbors gathered to witness the union of two people who had both suffered deeply yet found a glimmer of hope in each other. As Lily walked down the aisle with her newborn son cradled against her chest, and Blake waited at the altar in a simple suit, the world seemed to pause in a moment of raw, unfiltered promise. In the months that followed, the rigid terms of their initial contract slowly gave way to something more tender and real. Blake, who had once been the embodiment of cold calculation, began showing genuine care for Lily and their child, whom he named Oliver. He attended late-night feedings, asked how she felt, and even helped her with medical appointments. Lily, still haunted by the scars of her past and the memory of the contract, began to open up to the possibility that life might offer more than survival, that it might offer love and healing. Yet their new life was not without its challenges. Every day, Lily was reminded that her existence was once dictated by a contract. Every detail of her care and every decision about her child's future was preordained by Blake's meticulous planning. Despite the luxurious comforts of the mansion, Lily felt like she was living inside a gilded cage. The constant supervision, the strict schedules, and the impersonal oversight of her every move made her feel trapped. And though Blake's behavior was softening, his cool, businesslike nature still crept into moments that should have been warm and loving. One chilly evening, as the autumn wind whispered through the mansion's corridors, Blake and Lily found themselves alone in the parlor. "Lily," Blake said, his voice trembling slightly with emotion, "I've been thinking. I can't imagine my life without you, or Oliver. I know our arrangement began as a deal, but I want to change it. I want you to be by my side as my wife, as my partner. For real." Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She had spent so long fighting to survive that the idea of a genuine connection terrified her. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. Blake nodded, his eyes earnest. "I'm asking you to marry me, truly. Not as a transaction, but as a promise to build a life together." With tears streaming down her face and her heart aching with both sorrow and hope, Lily whispered, "Yes, Blake, I'll marry you." Their wedding, held on the very beach where the sun met the sea in a blaze of golden light, was a modest, heartfelt celebration. There were no extravagant displays or ostentatious ceremonies, only the quiet, honest exchange of vows among a few close friends and neighbors. As Lily walked toward Blake with Oliver in her arms, the simple beauty of the moment seemed to wash away years of bitterness. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the applause was soft but sincere. And as Blake pulled Lily into a tender embrace, both knew that the cold contract that had once bound them was slowly melting away. In the months and years that followed, their lives transformed in ways neither could have imagined. Blake, now a changed man, dedicated himself to being a loving husband and a caring father to Oliver. He became involved in social projects, using his wealth to help those in need, and gradually learned to see people for who they truly were rather than mere pawns. Lily, too, began to rebuild her identity. Despite the lingering pain of her past, she pursued her long-buried passion for art, eventually opening a small community art studio that nurtured local talent. Together, they created a home filled with warmth, laughter, and hope, a stark contrast to the cold world they had once known. 5 years later, as they celebrated the anniversary of their wedding on the same beach where they had promised each other a fresh start, Blake turned to Lily and said, "If I could go back in time, I'd choose this path again without hesitation. Every sacrifice, every mistake, it all led me to you and to Oliver." With a gentle smile, Lily rested her head on his shoulder and replied, "I'd do it all over again, too, because now we have something real, love, hope, and a future built together." Their journey, from a contract forged on a cruel bet to a life of genuine connection and family, had not been easy. But through shared pain, unexpected tenderness, and the miracle of new life, Blake and Lily had found a way to rewrite their stories. Their once cold world of business and control had softened into one of mutual respect, growth, and authentic love. Oliver thrived in an environment filled with care, and over time, even the mansion that had once felt like a gilded prison became a home, a place where both could finally be free. What do you think of Blake and Lily's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below and rate this story from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more heartfelt tales. Enjoy the story.